From the Greensboro Coliseum in Greensboro, North Carolina, this is TarHeelIllustrated.com. I'm THI staff writer Jacob Turner, and alongside me, as he usually is, THI publisher Andrew Jones. Andrew, about an hour ago, we saw Carolina's season come to an end here on this very court, losing to Syracuse in the second round of the tournament, 81-53. Blowout loss, really, for the Tar Heels. We're going to hit on three things like we always do. Big run to end the first half for Syracuse. We're also going to touch on Syracuse is playing with a little bit more want and energy, and we're also going to touch on. It's been AJ said it off camera, but he's been doing this a lot longer than I am. But this has been one of the weirdest days, and I think he said the craziest day.
By far.
And
we're going to hit on that.
Yeah, craziest day for him in media history with everything going around with the coronavirus and sports canceling everywhere. So, it'll be interesting to see if they even play the tournament, which we'll hit on in a little bit. Yeah. But AJ, the first thing we're going to talk about, Syracuse ending the first half on a 19-2 run. Completely flipped the game. Carolina really came out in the second half. Maybe you thought, well, maybe they'll put a little run together and make this thing interesting, but never happened. I think that run really killed any chances of Carolina coming back and making this thing interesting and eventually maybe getting a win, but it really just looked like it sucked the life out of Carolina, and they had no response for it.
Tar Heels were 1 for 10 from the floor during that stretch, 3 turnovers, doubled up on the glass, 10-5.
Yep.
And Syracuse around 50% from the field. They had a little stretch where they missed a few shots, but they just picked the Tar Heels apart. They owned the Tar Heels in that stretch, and it was a complete reversal of what we saw up at the Carrier Dome. We're going to hit on the want thing, but the want thing showed up there because it showed up from the outset. 7-0 start. The Tar Heels climbed back in. They weren't really playing well, but they got to 24-20 with 6:47 left, and boom.
Yeah, I remember the first play of the game, the tip. It went right to the guy.
The buttons popped off.
Yeah.
The buttons popped off the Tar Heels, and all the things that we saw all year long that were warts on this team were fully exposed. They just flared up, and hey, world, these are all the things that we don't do well from time to time. And it all happened in the same time, same night, against the same opponent, and that's how you end up suffering your worst loss ever in ACC history. A 19-2 run to close the half in this building when there was decent Syracuse contingent in here, but mostly Carolina fans. They had every reason in the world to continue playing. Wasn't there. Nope. Everything that we saw last night was spirit. Everything that we saw really in the 5 games preceding was spirit since Louisville didn't exist, and they were trounced, and they were justly trounced because Syracuse had more everything, which I'm leading into our next point.
Yeah, in a lot of ways, I think it was just kind of I wouldn't say a fitting end, but an appropriate end for the way Carolina's season went for a majority of it. But yeah, the second thing is, Syracuse just had like a little bit more want to, which I mentioned in the beginning of the video. It looks like they had a little bit more energy, a little bit more spring in their step. It looked like they just wanted it more. And you can sit here and say, well, Carolina was coming off a game, maybe they're not as fresh, but it's just one game. You can't give that excuse.
No.
Carolina just didn't look interested for some parts of the game. They came out. I mean, like I said, alluded to a few minutes ago. I mean, the first play of the game, Syracuse gets the tip and they score in 3 seconds. Yeah. I mean, that kind of summed up. I remember thinking in my head, well, maybe this is going to be that kind of game today, and it kind of turned out to be like that. But Syracuse just wanted it more, and it showed on the final scoreboard. That's a big loss.
Armando Bacot told me that Syracuse was a lot more intense tonight than it was in the Carrier Dome, and it was obvious. But you get a player telling you that. And I just don't think the Tar Heels responded to it. They whacked them in the face a couple of times. Like I said, Carolina climbed back into it, 24-20, but then the 19-2 run to close the half. They were down 21 at the half. They hadn't been down 20 at the half in a while. I mean, it's happened a few times this year, more than usual for North Carolina basketball, but Syracuse was more physical. Carolina did not. Syracuse's front line did not look physical in the Carrier Dome.
No.
But they were far more physical tonight. They got Carolina, I think, out of its skin. The Tar Heels were chirping a lot. They were staring a lot. They were frustrated. The grins on the faces, the grimaces, barking at the
body language just was
bad. The body language was terrible a lot of times. And the facial expressions, they just didn't have it. And Syracuse sensed it, and that 19-2 run was putting their foot on the throat. The game was over at that point.
They stomped on them,
But it's because the way the game began. Syracuse had a lot more in them to say, hey, 11 days ago, you kicked our butts. That's not who we are. You guys are a losing team. I don't care what's written on the front of your jersey. You're not a very good team, and we're going to prove that. And if there is a tournament moving forward, we're going to march on. So really discouraging performance for the Tar Heels to be beaten in that way. It's one thing to come out and just not play well. It's one thing to come out and miss shots. But the Tar Heels were beaten in all the intangibles tonight because Syracuse just played, in my opinion, from what I saw, and I'm not saying the Tar Heels didn't play hard. Yeah. They did play hard, but I think Syracuse got in their heads, and anybody knows this in life. When your mind's a little bit rattled, you're not going to be at your best.
Yeah, it's Carolina.
There's no way on earth the Tar Heels were anywhere close to that at all tonight, and that's why they lost by whatever it was.
Yeah.
What was the margin? 28?
Yeah, I have to do the math.
28,
Yeah, 28.
30, yeah.
It's crazy.
I went in actually with about a minute and a half left to get back to the press room to get my laptop in there. There was an incident over there with we don't want to get into right now, but you could see the frustration on the Tar Heels.
Absolutely.
And it really carried over. There was a point where Garrison went after a loose ball, two spots over from me.
Yeah. You were right there too.
Smacked the table real hard. You know, this guy has battled so hard this year, and he's improved so much, and he's been posting amazing numbers, and he was fighting his rear end off tonight. But his frustration really kind of mirrored the way the team kind of was
at the
end of
the
this
team.
game.
Yeah.
Very frustrating season for him. Very difficult season. And I know the Tar Heels would want to keep playing, but at the same time, you got to figure there's a little bit of relief for them as well.
Yeah, and speaking of keep playing, we're not even really sure it's going to happen at this point. Obviously, mentioned in the beginning of the video, but AJ said it's been the craziest day of my sports media, even in one of the craziest days of my life with just everything going wrong. But for someone who's covered the sports for 20 plus years, AJ says the weirdest day he had with the coronavirus. And let's see, at this point, the NBA suspended play. There's talk of the ACC. There's going to be no fans allowed here. It's going to be an empty stadium if they even play tomorrow, which is still kind of up for debate, and who knows what will end up happening with that. I think pretty much every major, or not even every major conference in this, pretty much every conference has done something where they're banning fans, canceling the tournament. Something's going on. It's been a crazy day.
Let's put it in perspective.
Yeah.
When you and I got here Monday, UNC previously never showed up for the day before the tournament starts, little media stuff. There wasn't a whole lot of media here. They practice out here because they never had to. Because the Tar Heels usually were starting on Wednesday or Thursday,
yeah.
So they didn't need to. But they're actually here, so we
came. Yeah.
We came.
We were one of the few.
We didn't know Sunday night or Sunday evening we were going to be here. We knew Sunday night we were going to be here, so we made our plans. We came.
It was a late night.
And what was supposed to happen is after a 50-minute practice, we were supposed to get the players in the locker room. And one of the things I love about the postseason is mandated open locker rooms.
You go talk to them
at
for
the
a while,
NCAA tournament, in the day in between games, a locker room's open for like an hour.
Yeah.
You get so many great stories. Well, Carolina didn't want anybody in the locker room. The first thing, that's when I first thought, okay, it's a little bit different. And it was kind of annoying, to be honest with you.
It was,
we got the kids right over here. They sat right over here on the bench right over here that we're doing this video. Thought it was a little bit odd. We only had 15 minutes. We got Roy during that time, so we didn't get a whole lot of stuff. Then yesterday after the game, we get the players behind a little bit of a rope. Normally we'd be in the locker room,
Weird.
But they changed it. But in the last 12 hours,
It's been a crazy day.
honestly, when this morning when I found out the Ivy League canceled the tournament, and then some other stuff starts to drop. The MAC isn't going to have fans, and the Northeast Conference isn't going to have fans, or the West Coast Conference, or whatever, or the Big West rather.
Even in the last 4 hours,
and then everything just started to snowball.
Yeah, snowball effect.
Everybody's heads were spinning, and I got to be honest with you. On press row when the basketball game started, when the Carolina game started, people were checking their phones and they were talking about this. Like, this is the craziest day we've ever experienced in sports, in the media, and it's getting crazier. And one of the things that I wanted to find out from the ACC is that, they sent out a text about a statement about 4:45.
Yeah.
We're aware of the NCAA statement that there will not be fans at the tournament. We're monitoring the situation. About 3 hours later, the ACC sent out a statement saying we will not have fans.
Yeah, only essential personnel or whatever.
It took 3 hours there. What was the timeline? We kind of figured stuff like that out. And then you start hearing that, well, there are going to be discussions that they just may cancel this thing altogether. The college basketball season might be over now.
Yeah, the NCAA tournament.
So when you're watching this video, understand that it's about 20 after midnight right now when we're taping this, so it may have already happened. By the time you see this, it may already happen.
It might be going off our phone right now, yeah.
And it's just crazy. I mean, I hate to use the word crazy.
But that's exactly what it is.
Crazy.
It's surreal.
If you would have written this script and submitted it in Hollywood 6 months ago, you'd have been laughed at.
Yeah.
Because
like a movie.
This is like a bad movie on the Sci-Fi Channel. People running down the street,
panicking.
Yeah, that movie, the Blob from back in the 50s, or a giant tomato or something like that. That's kind of what this is like, but it's supremely serious.
Oh, yeah.
And it's being addressed. And whether you agree with the decision or not, this is what's happening. This is the landscape. And we all have to deal with it. It affects our lives. Mm-hmm. We're going to have to scramble to figure out how the hell we're going to put stuff on the site.
There's nothing
because we have to make a living. We have to do our job. But there's so many other things to be concerned with as well. So it is what it is. Another thing I hate to say, but I'm saying it anyway. We will deal with it. I would be shocked if anything moves on in sports moving forward. I mean, Masters, it doesn't matter what it is. It's going to shut down for a while. hopefully it won't be too long, and the problem will subside.
Yeah.
We will deal with it, and we'll resume normalcy sooner rather than later. But this, by far, the most bizarre day of my professional career. And I can't even begin to tell you what is number 2.
Yeah, I don't even
because the gap, the cavern between today and whatever else there is, doesn't compare.
It's been a crazy day. It's been a crazy day on the court, off the court, everything. Carolina losing today, season coming to an end, 81-53 to Syracuse.
We may have spring football.
We may have spring football next Tuesday. We don't really know yet. It'll be interesting to see how things develop. I know some schools have canceled it.
Yep.
Michigan's Ohio State.
Or at least the spring games.
Yeah.
Just stay with THI. We will have stuff. We're not going to go dark.
Nah,
we're going to have stuff. We got plenty of stuff in the pipeline, and we're going to do some videos if we're allowed to see each other. I mean, Jacob may get me sick. I don't want to deal with that. But we're vice versa.
Yeah, who knows what's going to happen?
Stay with THI, TarIllustrated.com, and check out. I'm sure we'll have some videos down there. We got some podcasts coming, that kind of thing. That we're going to stick on the YouTube channel. So we got a lot of stuff coming on, but just be patient. This will subside. Hopefully, there are no more illnesses, no more deaths, or anything like that. That's far more important than THI or college basketball or hockey or anything like that.
Bizarre day. It was a bizarre season for Carolina, but it's finally coming to an end. For TarIllustrated.com and Jacob Turner, he's been Andrew Jones. If you've enjoyed this video, be sure to like it, be sure to share it, and we'll see you when we see you. Thanks, guys.